Imagine a world where the top 1% own everything. Food, water, shelter, all controlled by a handful of elites. Is this our future? The situation is more dire than you think. We're teetering on the edge of an economic collapse caused by obscene wealth inequality. Don't believe me? Stay with me and find out how bad it really is. The richest 1% now control more wealth than the entire middle class combined. This is a ticking time bomb threatening the very fabric of our society. We need to act now, before it's too late. History repeats itself, and the signs of another major economic crisis are all around us. The wealth gap is wider than ever, and just like in the past, it could all come crashing down. But this time, the stakes are even higher. This economic battle is rich versus the rest. This isn't some conspiracy theory. This is a full-blown economic nightmare unfolding right before our eyes. The gap between the haves and have-nots is wider than ever. They say money talks. Well, it's time we stop listening and start shouting. Enough of the sugarcoating. Let's expose the ugliness of 1% rich elites. Let's talk about solutions. Let's talk about how to fight back, how to demand change, and how to build an economy that works for all of us, not just the privileged few. In this messed up economic reality we're living in, the top 1% are acting like they own the whole world. According to a recent report by Oxfam, these elites have gobbled up a staggering half of the world's wealth. Let me repeat that. Half. That's like showing up to a party, shoving everyone aside and stuffing your face with all the cake while the rest of us are left with crumbs. Congratulations, billionaires. You've officially broken the record for most wealth hoarded by a tiny group of people in human history. Seriously, what are you even spending all that money on? Maybe you can buy a new moon base to park your fancy rockets next to. Look, folks, this isn't some funny meme. This is a massive problem with serious consequences. When so much wealth is concentrated in the hands of a few, it leaves the rest of us struggling to afford basic necessities. It's time we stop accepting this as normal and start demanding a fairer share. According to Oxfam's latest report, the richest 1% have pocketed nearly 2/3 of all new wealth created since 2020. That's $42 trillion, folks. Meanwhile, the bottom 99% are left fighting over the scraps, while billionaires are adding $2.7 billion to their already overflowing coffers every single day. More than 1.7 billion workers are struggling to keep up with rising inflation. Let's put this into perspective. While the super rich are jet-setting to their private islands, ordinary people are skipping meals just to make ends meet. Families are being forced out of their homes because they can't afford the rent. And forget about healthcare. That's become a luxury only the wealthy can afford. This isn't some abstract statistic. This is people's lives being crushed under the weight of billionaire greed. But wait. It gets worse. During the COVID times and in the times of crisis, while the rest of us were struggling to make ends meet, big corporations were raking in record profits. And according to this report from Oxfam, these corporate vultures are jacking up prices on essentials like food and energy, squeezing every last penny out of hard-working families. These companies are like vultures circling a wounded economy, picking it clean while the rest of us bleed out. While they're busy counting their billions, we're left counting our pennies just to put food on the table. It's a disgrace. Listen up, because I'm about to drop some truth bombs that'll make your blood boil. Since 2020, the richest 1% have snatched up a mind-boggling $26 trillion in new wealth. That's right, $26 trillion. But wait, it gets worse. These fat cats aren't just hoarding cash, they're making obscene profits off our suffering. In 2022 alone, 95 food and energy corporations more than doubled their profits, raking in a jaw-dropping $306 billion. And you know who's cashing in on these windfall profits? The rich shareholders. The Walton dynasty, owners of half of Walmart, pocketed $8.5 billion in just 1 year. And let's talk about Gautam Adani, an Indian billionaire whose wealth skyrocketed by $42 billion in 2022 alone. Meanwhile, over 1.7 billion workers are living in countries where inflation is outpacing wages. Over 820 million people are going hungry. And guess what? Women and girls are hit the hardest. Women and girls often eat least and last and make up nearly 60% of the world's hungry population. The World Bank says we're facing the biggest increase in global inequality and poverty since World War II. Entire countries are facing bankruptcy, while the richest countries are slashing healthcare and education budgets by a whopping $7.8 trillion over the next 5 years. This isn't just greed, it's a crime against humanity. Now let's talk about this massively rigged tax system. According to Oxfam, billionaires like Elon Musk are getting away with murder, paying a true tax rate of only 3% between 2014 and 2018. Meanwhile, hard-working people like Abba Christine, a flower vendor in Uganda, are getting slammed with a tax rate of 40% on their measly $80 a month income. Let me break it down for you. Worldwide, only 4 cents out of every tax dollar come from taxes on wealth. And get this, half of the world's billionaires live in countries with no inheritance tax for their heirs. They're going to pass on a tax-free treasure chest worth $5 trillion to their kids. That's more than the entire GDP of Africa. And here's the kicker. Rich people make most of their income from their assets, not from hard work like the rest of us. Yet they're only taxed at an average rate of 18%, while the rest of us are paying over half of our wages in taxes. Does that sound fair to you? No, it's a scam. It's time to fight back against this rigged system. We can't sit back and accept this injustice any longer. We need change, and we need it now. Here's what we can do. First, we need progressive taxation. That means making the super rich pay their fair share. No more getting away with paying a lower tax rate than hard-working people. Second, we need wealth taxes. It's time to claw back those crisis gains and redistribute the wealth to those who need it most. And third, we need to close those tax loopholes that allow billionaires to dodge their fair share of taxes. But we can't do this alone. We need to support organizations fighting for economic justice, who are calling for systemic change. Record your voice, claim your rights. Don't stay silent on this meticulously planned rigging. Together, we can build a future where everyone has a fair chance to succeed, not just the privileged few. Thanks for watching, and remember, together, we can make a difference.